One of the tougher challenges that you will probably face on your fat loss journey is how do you track when you're not the one in control of making. A big challenge for many people is when you're out and about. You're on a day trip or you're going to friends, you're out at a restaurant, and even when you choose food that you think is particularly healthy, this can cause a lot of stress and anxiety when it comes to how we track it. So in this video, I'm going to explore with you your options when you're eating out, how to do your best and manage eating out in general, and the best ways to track and log what you're doing when you're not directly in control of the food that you're eating. So firstly, my advice to everyone is that you don't want to avoid these social situations. Want to create an environment where you're not able to go out, because if you have to remove having a social life and going out for dinner or going on day trips just so that you can stay in a deficit, I would argue that isn't creating a sustainable long-term lifestyle. It's creating a very short-term quick fix approach that's more of a prison sentence than a lifestyle you can enjoy. That being said, when you are out, you do have a few options. You could go for the lowest calorie option on the menu, and if you think you're going to enjoy that and you're genuinely picking it from a place of enjoyment, then great. You might go for something in the middle. You might go for what you fancy, but maybe make a change to the size, lower calorie option to minimize the amount of calories that you're having, or you may decide to just have exactly what you want regardless of how many calories. And all of those options are completely fine. The most important thing when you're eating out is that you are eating what you want to have. If you are making your decisions because you feel you have to, you're probably looking at it from the wrong perspective, because one hot day doesn't make a summer. So if you don't eat out very often, choosing a low calorie option when you don't really fancy that and go out every now and then means that you're not going to actually enjoy that rare moment where you go out. And if you only go out every now and then, and it is the exception rather than the rule, then you can absolutely. Progress is dictated not by what we do in moments in isolation, it's what we do consistently over an extended period of time. So if you're always consistent with your calories, having the occasional higher calorie meal where you go out and you enjoy yourself is absolutely fucking fine. So how would we track that? Well, you have a few options. Option number one is that you search out what you've had. If the restaurant that you're eating at is on MyFitnessPal, the likelihood is you can find the dish, so you can track it pretty much accurately in line with what you actually had. A great example of this would be if you've gone to a Wetherspoons. The majority of the food on a Wetherspoons menu can be found on MyFitnessPal. Now, what do you do if the restaurant you're at isn't on MyFitnessPal and you can't find the food? Well, you have a few options. You can either search out the dish that you had. Let's use the example of lasagna. You could put in lasagna and it will bring up a whole list of options in MyFitnessPal or NutriCheck or whatever app you're using to track your calories. My advice at this point would be to pick the one that you think is most accurate. A mistake a lot of people make is they pick the one that looks the lowest calories on the list so that they feel better. Now, whilst this may make your MyFitnessPal look good, the challenge that we have is if it's not reflective of what you actually ate, it's fucking pointless making MyFitnessPal look good. What would be better is that you pick something either in the middle or towards the top end of the calories. And yes, it may mean that you go over according to MyFitnessPal for the day, but it is always better to overestimate the amount of calories that you're eating rather than underestimate, because further down the line you are going to make decisions based on the data that you've collected. And if we've overestimated what we've eaten, you're going to make informed decisions that actually mean you probably stay within a deficit. Whereas if you significantly underestimate so that MyFitnessPal looks good, you may make informed decisions based off of poor information. Your other option is you simply don't track. We are talking about one meal in isolation. And whilst it is very handy to be able to see roughly where we are each week, if you don't eat out very often, it's not really going to do us any harm if that one meal isn't tracked. We can take it into account when you check in, and in the grand scheme of things, it's going to have very little impact on your long-term progress. So sometimes, in order to enjoy the meal that you're having, it's better to not track at all when you go out and just enjoy yourself. The reason for this is that we want you to enjoy yourself. We want you to enjoy life. We want you to be able to go out and make the most of social situations and feel in control. Because if you feel in control, when you wake up the next day, you won't feel guilty. You won't feel any shame, and you won't feel like you're failing. You will quite effect. It's not about never going over your calories. It's quite simply about getting back on track at the first available opportunity. Because if you can do that, you are going to spend substantially more time in a deficit working towards your goals than you are going over your calories and therefore negatively impacting on progress. So in summary, when you go out, you have three options. You can either not track and just enjoy yourself and get back on track the next day. You can search out the restaurant and the food that you ate in the hope that it is in MyFitnessPal so you can track accurately, or you can search out what it was that you had and give your best educated guess as to how many calories you actually consumed, so we've got a rough idea of where you are. All three options are fine. If you find you eat out more regularly, I would try and track as accurately as you can. If it's a one-off treat and you don't go out that often, well, pick whichever one is going to feel best for you that allows you to enjoy what you're having. When it comes to choosing what to have when you are out, again, you can go for the lowest calorie option if you think you'll enjoy it. You can go for the option that you want and maybe make some lower calorie swaps so that you stay closer to your calories, or you can just have whatever the fuck you want and enjoy it and accept the fact that it's the exception rather than the rule. If you can do that, you're going to be able to enjoy a social life while staying on track and not feel like you're ruining your progress.